All right, so let's dive into how to actually write your LinkedIn profile now that we've discussed what recruiters see. And I want to be very specific here. The advice that I'm giving you is going to be geared at folks that are using LinkedIn to look for work. It will not be applicable to folks that are using LinkedIn to run their business or people who are using LinkedIn to network. This is very specific to folks that are trying to get hired by using LinkedIn. And at some points, I will give you different advice depending on whether you are junior or senior in your field. And I'll show you some examples of profiles in both situations so you sort of know what the differentiator is. LinkedIn is not the same if you're junior or senior, so be super, super mindful of what senior folks in your field do and try to emulate them as much as possible. So the summary is the first thing that folks see once they've clicked into your profile and scrolled down. It should be at the very most one paragraph, maybe a couple of bullets, and definitely your email. Having people scroll to the bottom of the profile for your email is not great. If you're looking for work, make it very easy for people to reach you. Make sure your email is listed at the very, very top in your summary. If you're not comfortable with people sending you email or just having your email out in the internet, just create a separate email box for job applications or a separate email box for recruiters to list on LinkedIn. But you should have your email in this section 100%. Let's take a look at how to write a summary. Your summary should answer one or maybe two of these questions, but definitely not all of these questions at once. What makes you interesting? What defines you as a professional? What are you working on right now? And what are you looking for? So typically I tell folks, pick any two of these and answer them in the summary section, and you should be good to go with that plus your email. So what does that actually look like? Here's a great example of how somebody tackled their summary sections. This is Jonas Silberg. He's an account executive at Wistia. He has a very clear tagline. He's an account executive. And then he has a very clear summary of what he does that's also really kind of relatable and funny and talks about him as a person and what makes him interesting in what he does right now. Something brief like that plus your email is absolutely sufficient. Here's another really good example of Rafael Parker. He's the head of outreach at Segment. I think his profile is really great as well. He has a little bit of a longer paragraph here. It's more meaty, but he talks about interesting things in his past experience. So he's an ex-corporate lawyer. He's a nonprofit founder in the past. He's a round-the-world cyclist, ex-Nigerian federal government employee. So it sounds like somebody who's very interesting that you want to interact with, you want to talk to, because there's definitely a backstory behind all of these unique experiences that he's had in his career and also in his life. So something like that would be perfect as well. Essentially, this is the section where people connect to you as a person. Think of it as a cover letter, but in 4 sentences or less. So what's interesting about you? What's something people might not know? Or what interesting thing are you working on? Or what's a hobby people might connect with you on? Something like that. This is what goes into summary section. How not to do a summary section is something like this. So this is a very, very bad example of a summary section. So this is somebody who basically wrote a full-on cover letter, a multi-paragraph with bullet points, and they did include their email as well. However, what's bad about this is it is so incredibly dense. It is so much information. Just to be truthful, nobody will ever read this. And the goal of everything we do with our LinkedIn profile is for people to read it and understand who you are so that they are interested and compelled to connect with you. And this is way too much information to connect to somebody and reach out. Here's another kind of bad example of what not to do. So this is somebody who is a realtor, and they have put a lot of information around the area where they live. This almost like in story format. And while it might be interesting and compelling, it's certainly not something that portrays how you could reach out to this person or what specifically they do that could help with. So it's a little bit too narrative for somebody to be interested in reaching out.
candor helps tech professionals get paid more.